Hello friends, it's Candace and welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about orbital piercings. Now, the reason I wanted to specifically focus on orbitals for this video is because I feel like orbitals are one of those piercings where people say, I want an orbital piercing, but they really want like a conch piercing. This is one of the ones, there's a lot of piercings out there that there's diagrams where everything's wrong on the diagram, like everything, or like a shocking amount is wrong on every diagram out there, like almost every diagram out there. I don't know who makes these diagrams. I don't know. Some of them are like so blatantly wrong, I'm like just confused. Like who was so interested in piercings that they wanted to make the diagram, but they weren't interested enough to even know what like all these piercings are. Just label the ones you know. Just put the ones you know on there if you don't know. I don't know. But anyway, I figured I would go through what is an orbital piercing in this video while also showing and reacting to some really cool and unique orbital piercings. Orbital? I feel like I pronounced it wrong. I feel like I said audible, but I feel like that was kind of hard to say, so I probably didn't say that. Anyway, so to start off, I would like to introduce myself. I am a tattoo apprentice and a piercing enthusiast. Not a piercer, piercing enthusiast, but just because I'm not a piercer doesn't mean I don't know a decent chunk about piercings. And I made my YouTube channel to show a little bit more about safe piercings, good piercings, high quality body jewelry, because I feel like there is not really a really big piercing person on YouTube that talks about this. So I figured I would just do it because I didn't see a lot of it. So, or like I really didn't see any, like YouTube wasn't showing me any really good piercers. And I feel like a lot of times good piercers who have YouTube channels, they're a little bit too knowledge based instead of like fun to watch. I mean, not to be rude, but like a lot of things that are entertaining about YouTube videos are like watching the reactions or like, I don't know, whatever. Basically, I'm better than everyone, and that's apparently what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm not here to diss whoever's on YouTube. I'm just like, maybe I can capture your attention. So if you like safe piercing, if you like body jewelry, body piercing, all that stuff, if you like tattoos, body mods of any sort, comment down below what kind of videos you would like to see, and don't forget to subscribe so you can see a lot more videos from me. While I'm a tattoo apprentice, I definitely still want to make videos about piercings and jewelry and all that stuff. So definitely follow me on my Instagram. Just like all that jazz. Send me things to react to on TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. And let's just get on into the video, because I keep rambling. How do you just not ramble? Some people just go right into it. Like, but I feel like people like me because I ramble. If they like me at all. Because I ramble a lot, so if you don't like people rambling. Anyway, maybe I could press screen record. So in this video, I just wanted to share what is an orbital piercing. As I've already said, I feel like a lot of people get orbital piercings confused with conch piercings. There are a lot of diagrams out there that show conch piercings and the little arrow says orbital. So I can sort of get what you're saying. A lot of people think that a conch piercing with a ring is an orbital, and I guess that makes sense because like the ring is like an orbit around the ear, like an orbit's like a circle, like okay, sure. And it's one of those like bigger, more inside your ear things that actually goes around the ear. So I can kind of see that, but that's not what an orbital piercing is. If you want to know more about conch piercings, I have a whole video about really cool conches, even with really unique anatomy, and I don't know, it's mostly a reaction to things, but I think I just go over kind of generally what a conch piercing is. And if you want any more information about any of these piercings, definitely comment down below on any of my videos. What exactly is your question, and maybe I'll make a video on it. What an orbital piercing actually is not one piercing, is two piercings connected by one ring. So this could be old lobe piercings, say you have like a bunch of lobe piercings going up your ear, if you potentially have enough space in between some of them that you can get one ring going through both ears. Usually it's not like an earring that you'll buy at a regular store. It'd have to be from a piercing place because the ring has to be the same diameter all around, and the whole thing needs to be a wearable surface, or majority of the ring needs to be a wearable surface. So you won't find these jewelries or rings like at any random store. It would probably have to be from a piercer or from like a piercing website or something, like piercing jewelry, body jewelry type of stuff. But it's one ring going through both piercings. So you could have plain low piercings, and if you find a ring that's the right diameter that it would fit through both of those holes without putting pressure on it, I would definitely consult a piercer when trying to find a piece of jewelry that will fit, because the piercer will have sizes in between that might fit better. You don't want to like irritate your piercing. But you could change regular old low piercings to an orbital. The orbital isn't the piercing itself. An orbital can be made out of any two piercings. Like, I've seen a lot of different varieties, and I'm going to show you quite a few different varieties of orbital piercings in my little repertoire. But a lot of them are like lobe piercings. But they can be existing piercings. It's just a piercing connected by a ring. But I'm just saying you don't have to get pierced with the intention of an orbital necessarily. It does help to get pierced with the intention of an orbital though, because sometimes I'm not sure that it would necessarily change the angle of the piercing itself. Maybe that would depend on the jewelry. I would definitely ask a professional piercer about that. But in terms of the diameter and distance of the jewelry, if your piercings are not at the right distance apart, say if you're like, oh, I want 2 flat piercings and maybe eventually I'll turn it into an orbital, you don't want to just get 2 flat piercings and then come back like 2 years later, be like, oh, I want to put a ring in this, and then be like, these are a really funky distance apart. We don't have a ring in that diameter. You might have to custom order a really specific size, if that's even possible, you know? So if you ever in your life want to make 2 specific piercings into an orbital, I would probably mention it to your piercer before you get it pierced. Hey, I'm getting these 2 piercings, but I might want to put a ring in both of them like at the same time. That might be beneficial to you if you're intending to ever do that in the future. And sometimes piercers will pierce orbitals with rings. So it all depends. It depends on a lot of things. This is why it's very important to go to your local reputable piercer and ask questions and make sure you're transparent with your piercer about your intentions with your jewelry and piercings, because that can help you a lot along the way. Anyway, let's get on into some pictures of examples of orbitals that I found that are super cool. Okay, this is not an orbital. Let's just go to orbitals. I'll start on the bottom. So this one, I'll probably read some of the captions, but I'm not necessarily going to read all of them, but definitely follow like any of these people if you think their work looks good. I've been posting a lot of gold stuff lately. It's so easy to post about gold. But I'm sure like a piercer, it's like whatever the people are buying is what I'm posting, but I don't know. But we will take today to remind people that despite not being cheap studio or a budget shop, we do carry options that are safe and do not carry solid gold pricing. Here pictured, we have a healed orbital piercing. That's the information I was after. Some people incorrectly refer to a conch piercing with circular jewelry as an orbital, but in all actuality, an orbital piercing is when a circular piece of jewelry transcends 2 parts of the ear through 2 separate piercings. Piercing 11 to 7 today. What does this even mean? Oh, 11 to 7. I thought they were talking about the ear still. They were just talking about their hours. Anyway, this one's so cool. So they said this was healed already. So here we have pictured a healed orbital piercing. It looks like it's probably 2 helix, like mid-helix piercings. And it's just 1 hoop going through both. It's a super unique look. A lot of people don't even know what an orbital piercing really is. So I think it's super cool. And this is just an orbital? This is just an orbital with, it looks like probably a seam ring. Clickers might not be ideal because you probably don't even want to like remove the jewelry anyway from an orbital. Actually, I don't even know how you would get a seam ring in. I feel like it would be tricky because since seam rings have to like bend open like this. I don't know. This is why I'm not a piercer. I don't know these things. But either way, this is super cool, super clean. It looks like it was probably pierced with the intention of it being an orbital, since it's a healed orbital piercing. Like, it looks like this piercer probably pierced it with the ring and now it's healed. But let's go to the next one. This is kind of a plain ring. Let's see if there's anything more exotic. Okay, another plain ring. This one looks like it's lobe piercings. I'm not sure if this piercing was pierced with a ring or not, but it looks like it could be very likely that there were just 3 lobe piercings, and maybe this person went to a piercing shop and went for like an ear curation type of thing, and they were like, hey, your piercings are the perfect distance apart for an orbital. So like sometimes that could happen if you want to go into a piercing shop to get your ear curated or something. Sometimes they might put an orbital in, and that can also be a really nice way to save some money on jewelry if you're wanting gold but you don't want to buy all these extra threaded ends. A lot of times seam rings could be pretty cheap for seam rings anyway. Like, say you just got these 2 lobe piercings with threadless ends, and now you're like, oh, I want these 2 extra piercings, but I can't afford like 2 more threadless ends, especially if it's gold. But if you want to buy a seam ring, at least last time I bought seam rings, I got a small ones for like $50. So you could probably get a seam ring for pretty cheap, at least comparing it to 1 or 2 threadless ends. And then you could still keep your nice high quality gold jewelry in your like lobe piercing if you switched it out. If you planned ahead, maybe, if the distance works out. Then you could move those other gems, Then you could move the threadless ends to the new piercings that you want to get, if that makes sense. So that's why sometimes it's nice to go to your piercer and plan ahead what you want to get. That way you can kind of budget and save money in some ways. Anyway, this is not a money saving video. But anyway, so that's what I'm saying. This one could have been augmented from like regular lobe piercings, and now there's like a chain dangling off the back, which is so pretty. I like it. It's like a little hidden pop. You can put charms on orbitals. Like, they sell charms that can just hang, so you could put a charm in the front and then these hanging chains on the back, which would look really cool and unique. I don't know, just really love it. Oh my gosh, this tragus is like teeny. Oh, so cute. Anyway, distractions. Distractions. Let's go to the next one. My little piercer heart is bursting. This orbital was done earlier today, and both the client and I are absolutely stoked. I seriously can't stop looking at photos. I'm sure everyone feels this way, but my clients are really are the best. Blah, blah, blah. Blood makes it look otherwise. Okay, so this is good quality jewelry. It just went through someone's flesh, so that makes it a little dirty. But apparently it is a high polish, which I'll trust them. This is super cool. This is a fresh orbital, so it's been freshly pierced with a ring. You could see they did not use a seam ring, which I guess that the other 2 were seam rings, but it's very possible that they were captives with a ball on the back, which would also make a lot of sense. The reason why you wouldn't want a seam ring with a fresh piercing is because the seam can rotate into the fresh piercing and your tissue can heal in between any potential gaps. So that's a problem. So a fresh orbital would probably look everything like this. It would have the captive bead, or at least some sort of fixed attachment on one side. That way your ring can't rotate, and so there's no gaps or seams that can rotate into the piercing. But you can see, obviously, since this was pierced with the ring, it was pierced a certain distance apart to fit the exact diameter of the ring. That way there's no issues with healing and all that stuff. You probably don't have to worry about downsizing because the diameter of the ring is only so big. So that also, you'd have to really ask a piercer because I don't know that much about it. But if you're kind of on a budget and you want like extra lobe piercings or something, an orbital, I would say, is probably a lot trickier to heal, just the nature of it. It's a ring that could spin. It doesn't really flap around since it's stuck, but you probably wouldn't necessarily have to worry about downsizing because it's all about the diameter. The diameter of the ring has to be the distance of the piercings. It has to be that far apart from the start. So if your piercer is willing to start your piercing with an orbital, start your piercing with a ring, your orbital piercing with a ring, then you might not have to pay for subsequent downsizes of the post. So that might be worth asking a piercer about. Now, don't get your hopes up. I'm not an expert on orbitals and downsizing for healing orbitals. I've never gotten an orbital myself, at least initially, like intentional orbital situations. But it's a cool thing to think about. Like, this person probably will just heal with this ring and probably wear that same diameter for the rest of the existence of these piercings. Do you know what I mean? As long as they're wearing it as an orbital. So you would just have to pay the initial price of the ring. No downsizes, no extra posts necessarily. Probably go in for checkups and stuff to make sure it's healing right. And if there's probably if there's problems, you might have to switch the post, so it might not be completely foolproof. But it might be, I don't know, I feel like it's worth a ask of a piercer, like, hey, would this potentially save me money? Like, would I be able to actually afford this? Because sometimes getting higher quality body jewelry can get pretty expensive pretty quickly, even when you're just getting the implant grade titanium or implant grade steel. Anyway, let's go to this one. I know I've showed this one on here before, but I just wanted to share unique orbitals, like on my channel. I've showed this one. But I wanted to show this with unique orbitals, since not everyone's going to watch every single video on my channel. I hope you do. But this is a super unique orbital. It looks like, I'm pretty sure this person had a doth piercing, which is the lower part of this orbital, right underneath that green gem. It was a doth piercing, but it was done very poorly from my understanding, and it was very shallow and kind of high up and out. I'm not sure if it was completely unusable doth piercing, but it was a healed piercing. It was just kind of shallow. Like, the jewelry that's in their doth now probably wouldn't look good or fit their ear very well in such a shallow doth piercing. So instead of retiring this piercing, this client had the idea for their piercer to make it into an orbital, which is so unique and so challenging. I think the piercer even said that it was like a difficult thing. They didn't think it would heal right, and the only reason they did it is because this client has already healed so many piercings, like for instance this anti-tragus, which is now stacked with 3 rings, which is so impressive. So that's why this piercer was willing to even do this. So you definitely can't go to a piercer and just be like, hey, I want a doth to forward helix orbital, do it for me, and just expect them to be able to or be willing to do it on you. But I thought this was just a really cool option. I thought this was just a really cool orbital, and just goes to show like how unique orbital piercings can be. And yeah, I just wanted to show, I already showed this on my channel before, so I won't harp on it too much, but super cool, super unique. Not everyone can get something like this, but it's a cool observation nonetheless, I think. Anyway, next one. This is another lobe orbital. So this one, it looks like they probably went in for a curation. Someone walked in, they're like, I have these existing piercings. Doesn't look like they got any new piercings, but it looks like they wanted to upgrade their piercings. They had this really big chunky thing in their forward helix, probably butterfly back earrings all along the edge, and this kind of older looking thing in their tragus. But so they upgraded everything, and like I said, they chose the person who put together the curation for this person, put a seamery in here. So this would have been way less expensive than 2 posts, 2 backs, flat back labrettes, 2 flat back labrettes, plus 2 gold ends if the person wanted posts, or even 2 rings would definitely be a lot more money than just this 1 ring. So if you're wanting a curation on a budget, maybe ask hey, is an orbital possible? I feel like I'm saying it wrong every time. Is an orbital possible for my existing piercings? Because I want to have all these lobe piercings, but it's so expensive to upgrade. You could probably go, hey, can I get a ring in those piercings, instead of just having to buy 2 or 3, getting so many. You could maybe connect them, and then that would just be 1 piece of jewelry instead of all these components. Anyway, I gotta do a ear styling on a budget. I told someone I would do that, but I definitely forgot this week. Maybe I'll remember next week. I gotta write it in my notes. Anyway, here's another orbital, another lobe orbital. Won't harp on it too much, but it looks so good. It looks like even if you wanted to dress up your second lobe piercing, it looks like the top one might be fresh. I'm not sure if the bottom one is fresh, but I feel like I can kind of see the like blue marking from the marker on the top one. But even still, if you wanted an orbital, but you didn't want like an extra 2 piercings, I'm pretty sure sometimes you can get an orbital through an existing piercing and a brand new fresh piercing. Obviously ask your piercer how that works and all that jazz. But even still, you could at least get a piercing spaced out far enough that you could eventually get an orbital through an existing piercing. So there's like so much you could do with orbitals. It's not even a word at this point. It's not even a word. Upgraded these healed lobe piercings done elsewhere to a synthetic white opal titanium stud by new metal and created an orbital with the second and third piercings. So just what I said. First of all, gorgeous jewelry. Love the jewelry. They augmented existing piercings. So this ring is a little bit fancier, I think. Since it's white gold, it's a little bit more expensive, and since it's by BVLA, it's a little bit more expensive than like a plain seam ring. But if they wanted to, it might have been at least equal in cost or cheaper than 2 studs from BVLA or 2 rings that are like similar to this. And then this is a nice way if you have a ring that's like side set. Now you can see the gems facing forward. Now if someone bought this ring and had it hanging down from a regular lobe piercing, all these gems that you see facing forward right now, they would be facing down like to the ground. Like gravity is going to just make them hang down. So this is a cool way if you like some side set rings but you don't really have a place to put them that they would be on show to your liking. This might be a really cool way to show off some side set rings that will actually stay in the position that you want, because obviously this can't rotate anywhere, like it's stuck in this position. So I think this looks really cool. It's a really cool option. They're all lobe piercings. Another lobe piercing, maybe I won't harp on this one too much, but super cool lobe piercing. Captive, that's the other thing, like this is like a side set captive. Now it won't hang and face the ground. Same thing, so you can have your opal captive. Super cool, super rad. Let's go to the next one. Another orbital, but this one has a heart at the top. So if someone wanted to change this to a ring, I'm not sure if the angle of the piercing, since the heart goes like this, if it would change the way the orbital goes. Like the ring might be bigger on the top if you switched it to a plain ring, but that is definitely a question to ask a piercer. But this, I believe, would also be considered an orbital, which is a little bit more unique than just a standard circle. And another good way to use these doth hearts, which are usually only good in doth piercings, but in any other piercing, the heart will usually hang kind of funny. So like a vertical helix or like an orbital like this might be a really cool way to show these like doth hearts, if you will. Anyway, next one. How many do I have left? Too many. Oh my god, I have way too many. Okay, these are super cool. Incredible to see what a bold look can be created with classic and simple jewelry. I've been piercing lovely Maddie since the very beginning of my career, and it's always been a process of fun experimentation and unique styling. And of course, this project was no different. Allow me to present the triple orbital, 3 fully healed helix to conch orbital piercings wearing implant grade jewelry from Anatometal. Oh my gosh. So good. So they have 3, it looks like only 3 conch piercings, and then they have, I think the bottom one could be a lobe. It gets tricky, like the high lobe, low helix piercings. But then they have 3 helix piercings, and then 2 of them aren't part of the orbital thing. Oh, it's just such a good look. It looks so cool. That's sort of what I want with my ears, since I have the huge conch holes. I have a video about that if you want to check it out. But I have like, I am able to put rings in my helix piercings, and it goes through my conch hole, which creates kind of a similar look. But this is super cool and super unique, and definitely not a lot of people have this. But you don't need to get 3. If you want an orbital, ask your piercer. Maybe you could get a helix to conch orbital, which is super unique, and then you wouldn't have the conch ring that's hanging on the outside of your ear. You would just have a ring that like the profile of your ear doesn't change. You don't have the ring like hanging off the edge, if that makes sense. So this is just super cool, and I love it. Super simple, like seam rings. They might be captive bead rings, and the bead is on the back, which would make sense. I'm not sure. I don't remember if they said. I think it's, yeah, fully healed, but they probably didn't change the jewelry from the captive or whatever was in there. But super cool. This is another example of like a really cool use of the orientation of the jewelry, since this pear-shaped thing is facing forward. You could put it in a septum or a doth, but like then it's kind of uneven. But this is another really unique way to put it. This way it's facing forward, but you still have this really unique way to wear it because it's an orbital. And it's a helix orbital, and I'm not sure if it's fresh, but regardless, it's a vertical helix orbital, basically, and it's super cool. Orbital piercings are just so cool, and stop calling conches orbitals. My throat is getting tired. Another helix orbital. Man, I talked so much about these lobe orbitals, and I'm trying to just get these all done, but I don't think I'll have time. Another orbital. This is another thing where the orientation makes me think it was probably like, people might think it's for like a doth or a septum just because it's facing forward, and it wouldn't really look, it would look good, but it wouldn't look the same like on a regular lobe piercing because it'd be facing this way or that way and not forward. So the orbital is a really good way if you can have it vertically through the helix any direction. It's a good way to have and make sure that the stones are facing forward, and then you have this like clustering effect with this really unique orbital. Super cool, super rad. Next one, another lobe one. Looks like these ones are fresh. They both have those violet markings. So pretty. Oh, so pretty. And then this one doesn't need the captive because it has that gem. It will probably prevent it from spinning into the wound. Another one. This one's super cool. It looks like someone added a high lobe to this whole situation and an orbital underneath. It looks like it wasn't pierced with the orbital. It looks like it might have just been inserted. Either way, super rad, super pretty. Oh, it just fits so well. Like, there's not even a huge gap on the front. There might be a gap on the back, but sometimes these look so cool, so unique. That is not an orbital. There must be an orbital. Oh, here's another orbital. This is another thing. I never really liked these rings. I never really liked these, like, V rings because I'm like, where do they go? Like, they're all gonna sag and, like, if it's like in a helix, it'll sag and the point will be pointing weird. But this is like such a clever and unique way to wear this ring, and then you have this V, and if you could imagine like another lobe piercing right in the top of the V, like, and then the V kind of echoes the shape. There's so much opportunity, so much opportunity. Looks so good. Anyway, next one, another helix piercing. It's probably fresh. Oh, it's like a flat piercing or something. Got a thing for orbitals. Here's an orbital, blah, blah, blah. Super cool. Again, orientation of the gems really looks amazing. So good, so good. Okay, I only got 2 more left. This one I definitely couldn't leave out. Healed rook. So looks like this one wasn't pierced completely for this. Looks like a rook was healed first. And this is, I've been talking about how lobes, you can dress up your lobes with a brand new piercing or whatever. But this person had a healed rook piercing. I don't know if you're bored with your rook piercing, and if you have an adventurous piercer or you have a good relationship with your piercer, maybe your piercer would be willing to do this on you. This seems like it might be really tricky to heal, so I wouldn't bet on it. But it might be worth an ask. Like, maybe like show your dedication to your piercer through other piercings, show your interest, all that jazz. Because they want to make sure, a lot of piercers don't want to pierce you if they're not sure that you're going to be able to heal it, because they don't want to just send you home with something that's just going to cause you problems and scarring and all that stuff. So they're really doing it because they care. But this is a healed rook to fresh forward helix orbital. Yeah, nothing else to say. So good, so good. So the rook was already healed, which I would think would be so much easier to have a healed piercing as part of this, because just think of how much pressure would be put on this. That would be a nightmare to heal. Just imagine like how people say industrials are so hard since they're connected. Like, if you bend your ear at all, it will cause issues for both piercings. What the heck? it would cause issues. It would a lot of the time cause issues for both piercings since they're connected. So I can't even imagine a rook and a forward helix, which I feel like rooks probably aren't problem piercings for a lot of people, but they are through like somewhat thicker cartilage. And then forward helix piercings, I think, can be tricky for some people just because of the location. Like, I feel like it can swell a lot for some people. Okay, sorry, my camera just overheated on me twice, so let's just get through the end of this. Basically, it would probably be really tricky to heal both of these at once, so it would definitely be ideal to have one of them healed first. Probably the rook, since the curved barbell probably gives more opportunity. And then the forward helix, I feel like the angle would be really important for this. I wouldn't want to heal this. It seems like it would be a rough heal, but it would definitely be an impressive and very unique heal for anyone who can do it. Anyway, let's go to the last one on my list here. This says super fun things happening over here. 2 fresh snug piercings. Shocking in itself. I might have showed this on my channel already, but it will later be connected by one piece of jewelry. So while this isn't connected by a ring yet, and there's no ring through it yet, these are orbital. This is an orbital piercing healing with 2 separate bars. So sometimes piercers, especially for like a snug piercing or something a little bit trickier to heal, they might have 2 separate pieces of jewelry in place of a ring, so that way the bulk of the healing and swelling can go down before they put an orbital in. So snug piercings are notorious for like swelling a lot and just being really troublesome healers. So an orbital that would be the proper distance apart for the orbital look probably wouldn't have enough room to accommodate the swelling that a snug would have. So especially a double snug, which is like, these people be tripping, man. That sounds absolutely insane. But the piercing with the intention of an orbital in the future is extremely impressive. And I gotta look back up because this was from May, so I gotta see if there's any posts. I would hope that I would have seen it, but this is like so crazy, and it's super impressive just to get it in general, but I guess I don't know how they've healed. So it's the healing that's the most impressive, but they're super cool idea, and it just goes to show you can get an orbital in, seems like virtually any piercing, as long as they can somewhat be attached with a ring. You could maybe get an orbital. You could like maybe have it be an orbital. But you definitely have to check with the piercer, check your anatomy, check your current piercings. You don't want to just put any ring in any piercings because you could put pressure on your piercing either inwards or outwards. Especially if the piercing's not healed, you could put pressure on the still fresh and swelling piercing, which could cause just a lot of issues. So definitely consult with the piercer if you're planning on doing this, especially if the piercing is not fully healed yet or has only just recently become fully healed, because you wouldn't want to cause any trauma to set back your piercing at all, or just cause like scarring or trauma to your ear in general, because that seems like a nightmare. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought down in the comments below, and let me know which one, there's dust, let me know which one was your favorite one out of the bunch. I think the most impressive one was the snug, but technically I guess it wasn't in orbital yet. So I don't know if I could really say the snug, but I don't remember the rest because everything just goes straight out my brain. Anyway, let me know which one was your favorite down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I would really love to have you. I would really love to grow my channel, to spread a little bit more awareness on safe piercing. I would love to grow like a following for tattoos and piercings and all that jazz. So definitely comment down below what types of videos you would like to see from me. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I love you. See you in the next one. Bye. Oh my gosh, I can't believe my camera broke twice. Okay, it didn't break. Oh my gosh, my phone's dying too. This is so bad. Oh, I went through so many posts. Okay, that was too many. I went through 18. Oh, no wonder I struggled to get through it. I'm shocked I did it in like 35 minutes. Anyway, I wish I didn't spend the whole beginning talking about lobes, but whatever. We got the gist by the end of it. Anyway, bye.